Thank you. Got it. Can I ask a volunteer to lead us in the four-way test?
I will lead. Thank you,
Go ahead.
President. For the things we do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build better goodwill, better friendships? And is it beneficial to all concerned? Thank you.
Thank you. Well done. We'll charge our glasses. Or if we don't have glasses, we'll take our right hand and put on our chest where the heart is. And I want to propose a loyal toast to the President of the Republic of Kenya. To the President, thank you very much. Most welcome to our meeting. We would have started earlier, but the guest had requested that we give him time to be here at exactly 1300 hours. And yes, we are about 3 minutes before 1300 hours. And I'd like to get straight to the point. Josephine, are you on call so that you can introduce the guest speaker?
Yes, I'm on call. I'm on call here from Naivasha, Great Rift Valley Lodge, at a national cancer meeting just opened by Excellency Governor Nyong'o, and happy to do the needful, President Gideon, fellow Rotarians and colleagues. And indeed, our guest, Rotarian engineer John Murutu, is on the call. I'm hoping you can hear me, and it's my pleasure. Yes.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much, President Gideon. It's my distinct pleasure this afternoon to introduce Rotarian engineer John Murutu. Rotarian Murutu is a mechanical engineer by profession with more than 30 years of work experience in the manufacturing sector of the oil industry. Rotarian Murutu was the first governor of Taita Taveta County in the period 2013 to 2017. Currently, he is the director of Agribusiness Academy and Knowledge Center. This center is an enterprise dealing with agribusiness and knowledge sharing. Rotarian Murutu is married to Hope Murutu and is blessed with 3 daughters, Dr. Sylvia Murutu, Teresa Murutu, and Kerry Murutu. Rotarian Murutu joined Rotary in 1995. He has served as past president of the Rotary Club of Mombasa Central. He has also been a member of the Rotary Club of Voi, and now the Rotary Club of Taveta, where he is the vice president. Rotarian Murutu is also a member of the District Governance and Ethics Committee. We're delighted to have Rotarian engineer John Murutu with us this afternoon to speak with us on the issues of governance and ethics, and in particular on the new role within the club leadership. And for our incoming board, this role will be undertaken by none other than Rotarian Lady Justice Joyce Alwatch. Thank you very much for allowing me to introduce our guest this afternoon. I'd like to now ask Rotarian engineer John Murutu to take the floor. Thank you, President Gideon. Over to Rotarian Murutu.
I don't know that we've dropped him. I'm not seeing him. Yeah, okay. Go ahead, engineer.
It's probably muted.
Engineer, you're unmuted. You can go ahead. Thank you. Can you hear us, engineer? But we can't hear you.
President Gideon, maybe you can call him and just guide him.
Okay. Maybe Josephine can call him because I don't seem to have the number. Let me see.
I'll give him a call. Don't worry, President Gideon. Let me give him a call. Please continue the meeting.
Is he still here? Yes, he's still here. He's unmuted.
Wow.
JK Mwangi, past president, it's always a pleasure to have you here. Can you give us some voice test? Can you say hi to the rest of the fellowship?
Mr. President and fellow
Yeah.
members of the club, I hope
Wonderful.
you're all fine.
Yeah, wonderful to see you.
Thank you.
After a very long time.
Thank you. Carry on the good work.
Karibu. I can see Dr. Gidanga has also sneaked in. Is it possible for you to say?
Mr. President, I haven't just sneaked in. I just stormed in. Yeah.
That's what I thought. I saw you storming in.
Yes, I did sneak in. Sneaking is sneaky. Yeah, but I'm happy to be here and I'm waiting to listen to our presenter today. And I leave it at that.
Most welcome, sir. Engineer Murutu, are you okay now to go on?
Can you hear me?
Very well, sir. Thank you. The floor is yours now. Go ahead.
Okay. I'll now use my phone because there seems to be a problem with my laptop. I hope people can hear me. So President Gideon, Rotarians of RC Nairobi.
Engineer, what do we do? I think you'll have to switch off one of your devices because of the echo.
Yes.
Or move it slightly farther from the phone. Thank you.
Just a minute. Let me sort this out.
The echo is not coming from engineer. There's someone whose microphone is not muted. So you can mute.
Hello, is it any better now?
Yeah. I think everyone should mute.
Hello.
Engineer, go ahead. Engineer, go ahead. You're okay. You're okay, Engineer Murutu. Go ahead. Far much better. Thank you. Are you there, engineer? Because your frame has frozen all of a sudden.
Okay.
Yeah.
On governance and ethics. So I'll share a PowerPoint presentation. Is it visible your end?
Yes, it is visible. Go ahead.
Okay, first of all, I want to start talking about the mandate of the Governance and Ethics Committee, which is overseeing governance and ethical issues in the district clubs and Rotarians. And our second mandate was developing and reviewing a district manual of procedures and codes of conduct. And number three was resolving governance and ethical issues and challenges that arise from the club level to the district. And lastly, offering guidance to the district teams on matters related to governance and ethics. And in governance and ethics, some of what we've put together is the standard constitution, bylaws, and policies. And we have developed and we've shared a standard club constitution, standard club bylaws, which has been amended slightly, a code of ethics, conflict of interest policy, policy on non-harassment, incident management processes, and guidelines on formation of a new club, and guidelines on the transfer of membership from one club to another, vetting of district leaders, management of grants for small clubs and new clubs, and also as part of the conflict of interest policy, a sign-off document for those that are likely to be conflicted as they undertake Rotary business. The club bylaws and constitution, and we want to say that the clubs are expected to adopt the standard Rotary Clubs constitution. And by the way, as we are writing this, we are aware, we are quite conscious that we have clubs that are matured with constitutions, with bylaws, and we have other clubs that are relatively new, and some of them, from the information we've gathered, they lack the basic documentation, even constitution and bylaws. So the expectation is that all clubs will actually adopt the standard Rotary Clubs constitution. On club bylaws as well, and again, the point here being made is that bylaws establish the club's management structure, the procedures, dispute resolution mechanism, and that clubs can either adopt the club bylaws as exists. We've made some suggestions on areas that can be improved. I mean, and I'll go through a few of them here. We have clause number 6 that deals with the board meetings, and the slight amendments we've done is that we've talked about particulars of business typically handled at board meetings. And the issue of quorum, we felt that this needed to be set on meetings where decisions are being taken. So the board meetings, AGM, and special general meetings. And to specify that quorum is necessary when voting or passing resolutions. Clause 13, leave of absence, again, specifying that the reasons needs to be stated, reason, process, and the reasons, and also the duration. Clause number 16 is the issue around the membership categories. Number 17, clause number 17, procedure for terminating membership of directors and members. Business at club meetings, the usual order. Clause number 20, the notice. And here we've talked about the manner of transmission. Clause number 21, the interpretation, how provisions of the bylaws are supposed to be interpreted. And 23, records. And in our view, it obliges clubs to maintain records and make them available to members. There's an appendix A, and this simply restates the provisions of the club constitution. Now, I've only made the highlights on the assumption that we have actually, as a committee, we've shared all this documentation before. So we expect that this is at the disposal of all the Rotarians in the club. So, and certainly it was not my intention to go through the standard club constitution, all the bylaws in this presentation. Then the next issue that we dealt with is the code of ethics, and here I want to just spend a bit of time to talk about why we think it is necessary and why it is important. And I want to open by saying the officials and Rotarians serve at the pleasure of themselves as Rotarians, other Rotarians, and Rotary International. And the policies and codes will create an environment here that is ethical, fair, and free from suspicion. And we believe that this is very important for attracting and retaining every volunteer who can offer service above self. And we also want to say that the governance structure is aligned with the object of Rotary, which is we're all familiar with, including the development of acquaintance as an opportunity for service, high ethical standards in business and professions, the recognition of the worthiness of all useful and dignifying each Rotarian's occupation as an opportunity to serve society. And I will not go through the rest of the items. So the highlights of the Code of Ethics, one is that Rotary is subject to the national and subnational laws of the various jurisdictions in which it exists. And I think that's a fundamental statement that for the clubs in Kenya, we all have to accept that we are subject to the laws of the country. And the second point is officials and Rotarians will adhere to the applicable laws and regulations in the contract of Rotary business, as well as in their personal lives. Number two, officers, officials, and Rotarians will adhere to the provisions of the club's constitution and bylaws. And number three, officials will not utilize their office for personal prestige and or benefit. And number four, officials will exercise due diligence in the performance of the obligations to the club. And number five, officials should perform their responsibilities with care, including reasonable inquiry as ordinarily prudent persons in like positions would do. And number six, officers and officials will take action based on essential fairness to all concerned, keeping in mind the four-way test. And number seven, officials will promote transparency of financial information to Rotarians. And number seven is actually quite critical in that the bottom line is that Rotarians are volunteers, and people will donate, will give more, will donate more where there is transparency. And the absence of transparency, then it becomes more and more difficult to expect contributions and donations from volunteers. The next policy that I would like to highlight is a conflict of interest policy, and basically how to manage any cases where there is opportunity of conflict of interest. And number one, we are saying no official Rotarian shall use their position or knowledge gained therefrom in such a manner that conflict between the interests of Rotary and his or her personal interest arises. And number two, each official Rotarian has a duty to place the interests of Rotary foremost in any dealings. And number three, the conduct of personal business between officials and their club is prohibited, except when a full disclosure has been made and the individual has rescued themselves from the deliberations. And number four, loans or indirect extensions of credits by club to a Rotarian is prohibited completely. And number five, full disclosure must be made on all instances of potential conflict of interest to the chair, the governance and ethics committee. And in the case of the chair G and E, then the disclosure should be made to the district governor. Committee members shall excuse themselves from any discussion of or vote in connection with a matter on which they are conflicted. And number seven, just try to broaden up again on what will constitute a conflict of interest. And we are saying that it covers any proposed decision of the club, including adoption or amendment of a policy, which if adopted will result in a financial gain or benefit for an official, a member of the official's family, or an organization in which the official is a shareholder, director, or officer. The next issue is non-harassment policy. And certainly talking and listening to the district governor, it is clear that the district has no place or time for harassment of any form, type, or nature. People won't join or stay in Rotary if they're exposed to harassment at meetings, events, and activities. And therefore, the district does not condone sexual harassment or any other form of harassment, which include, but not limited to, 1, verbal conduct such as epithets, derogatory jokes or comments, slurs, or unwanted sexual advances, invitations, or comments. 2, bullying, such as the activity of repeated aggressive behavior intended to hurt another individual physically, mentally, or emotionally. And number 3, visual displays such as derogatory and or sexually oriented posters, photography, cartoons, drawings, or gestures. And number 4, physical conduct, including assaults, unwanted touching, intentionally blocking normal movement, or interfering with work because of sex, race, or any other basis. And number 5, threats and demands to submit sexual requests as a condition for continued participation in Rotary, employment, or to avoid some other loss, and offers of employment benefits in return for sexual favors. And number 6, retaliation for reporting or threatening to report harassment. And I must admit that the list is not exhaustive. And as a club, I mean, if you're aware of other items that the club feels belongs to, I mean, could qualify as a harassment, the club is at liberty and free to add on to the list that we have suggested as a committee. The next is what happens in cases of harassment, or what should happen if it comes to the attention of the president, or if it comes to the attention of the district governance and ethics committee. And our view, a very, very strong view, is that all harassment incidents to be reported to club president or the chair, governance and ethics committee, or may choose to report any suspected cases to the security or to the secure and confidential whistleblower email, which we've provided there. Yeah, sometimes these cases, sometimes people may feel uncomfortable to talk about them directly. So we have a whistleblower email address that is confidential, that is accessed through very, very few people. So such cases can be reported there. 2 is all allegations of that criminal nature should be reported to the police promptly. And again, you remember early on we said that we are all subject to the national laws. So all incidences that are criminal nature, our strong view is that they need to go to the appropriate law enforcement agencies. On the 3rd bullet, we're saying the governance and ethics committee will endeavor to identify volunteering professionals who could offer counseling to any victim who needs assistance. You know, we come from a different background. There are those that have the means to get counseling support. There are others that may not have that support. And at the committee level, we are working to create a pool for those that are willing to volunteer to offer professional counseling services to victims. Sorry, guys, I've lost my, yeah. Now, earlier on, I talked about how to manage incidences, because when you talk about governance and ethics, issues will come up. And we ask ourselves, how shall we, when you have an incident, how will it be managed? Broadly speaking, we expect that most incidents will be managed at the club level, but there could be other types of incidents that will need to be managed by the governance and ethics committee. And there are others that will need to be escalated further. And we've just given an example, but this matrix, if used properly, it can help us to decide on where the incident belongs, depending on the exposure and the appropriate level of the investigation and management. So if you look at the boxes, we have some boxes that are quite clear. Then you have yellow, which we've called low. Then others tending to medium, and tending to, I don't know what color is that. I'm not colorblind, but I can't tell what color that color is. That we've rated medium, and then we have the reds that we've called the highs. Basically, those are a way of ranking the incidents. They have low-rated incidents, they are medium-rated incidents, and they are high-rated incidences. If you look at the extreme left part of the matrix, you see there's what is called a code of ethics issue, conflict of interest or harassment. And if you look at the bottom row, you see the first box is empty. The second one says the incident type is happening once a year in the club. You know, it's a rare, it's rarely happens, maybe once a year or more. The second box says the incident type is happening once every 6 months. So yeah, twice in a year it means it is regular. And on the third box at the bottom, the extreme right, say the incident type is happening every 3 months or less. Now that tells you that it's happening quite regularly in the club. So as you go up, you look at again the potential to impact the club negatively. And then there is potential to impact the district 9212 negatively. And right at the top, you see that the incident type has the potential to impact Rotary International or Rotary Foundation negatively. So those that the type of incidents that can impact Rotary International, all those have been rated high. And we'll give you an example of those and how they need to be managed. Those that have an impact on the image of the district, we've generally will be rated medium. And those that only have an impact at the club level are rated low, except the extreme end, which can be a medium rated incident. So if you look at the extreme end, we have two columns with examples being given. And the first one at the top, for incident type, they're saying 2 Rotarians, and in this case, say 2 Rotarians of RC Nairobi have a disagreement leading to a public spat. And that type of incident we have rated low, and the expectation is that that will be managed at the club level. In the middle, we've said, as an example, presidents of 2 clubs have a public spat during a joint activity or a district function. And we've said this as an example will be rated medium, and this will need to be managed by the governance and the desk committee. and with the assistance of the assistant governor. And right at the bottom, an example of a high-rated incident is where a visiting Rotarian from another district is molested. Or another example is the stewardship of Rotary Foundation project grant is wanting, or a sexual harassment incident. So this type of incident is rated high, and the governance and ethics committee will required to manage with the assistance of senior Rotarians and district governor to be informed as soon as possible, who may opt to give further guidance on how the incident should be managed. So we've just given an example, but this matrix can be used, one, to rate the incidents, and after rating the incidents, it gives you an indication on how, if it requires an investigation, at what level, who should lead that type of investigation, and also the reporting of such incidents. Next is the formation of new clubs, and clubs are formed. The starting point is the concept of an idea, the identification of potential members, and now the guideline is that there should be a minimum of 25. Then a champion is identified, and at that early stage, contact needs to be made with the district membership chair, who will provide guidance and also provide guidance in the initiation process together with the mother club and the champion. The DGSR guides up to chartering, and of course, before that, the election of club officers need to be done. And the DGSR advises DG and members chair on club's readiness, including paying up of membership dues, the holding of regular meetings and the projects. All that needs to be in place before the advice is given to the district governor to commence the registration process. And the DGSR will also help to complete the documentation and the signatures, and finally sends the documentation to the district governor for approval. The district membership chair will assess the readiness, get information from the DGSR, and starts the process. And the new club will be required, to prepare the projects, prepare financial reports, prepare the dispute reports, and ensure the payments of all dues by the charter members. Then, as soon as the DG is happy, the documentation is sent to RI, who approves, registers, and gives the charter certificate. And the mother club is expected to continue offering support to the new club, typically for a period of 1 year, to keep holding their hands as they navigate the whole process of managing a club. Next is the process of transferring of membership of a member, transferring from one club to another. And the opening statement is to say that a club will not admit a Rotarian from another club until a clearance form is received. And that clearance form will come from the club where the member is exiting from to the club where the member is joining. So it outlines the process of obtaining a clearance form, and that process includes the member issuing a notice of intention to exit their club and transfer to a new one, and the club president, secretary, and the treasurer, to the club president, secretary, treasurer, and membership chair. And the club president presents that request to the board, and as part of the things that they need to look at is to make sure that there are no outstanding dues, handover of signatory dues. I mean, if a member was a bank signatory, all that needs to be handed over. Clearance from project duties. Sometimes a member, would have been managing a project. So there has to be a clearance process. And depending on the complexity, it may be necessary to have an audit be carried out before the clearance is given. And when all is clear, then the club president will prepare and issue the official clearance letter that the member now can use as they present into their the club that they want to move to. Next is a district leaders vetting process, and as I said earlier, there's a form that has got to be attached to that. And the intention here is to make sure that all district officials are indeed Rotarians of good standing at their clubs. And the reason we were requested to develop this is that at some point, the district governor received complaints from some clubs about some of the district officers that have been appointed. And I'll not go into detail, but in a summary, this is what is included. Issues around payment of club dues, if there were any stewardship concerns for projects, events, or activities. A bit of the background of the Rotarian, have they held leadership roles in the club or the district? And in their cases where the president is required to confirm the stability by yes or no. Yeah, and in the form, all the questions that are there are mandatory, and the president is required indeed to respond to all of them. Management of grants for small and new clubs, I don't think this is relevant at all to RC Nairobi. So I think I'll save you the pain of listening to this, but it is still available. And what I'll do later is forward this slide pack to Rotarian Josephine, and the slide pack can be shared to all the Rotarians for reference. But as I said at the opening remarks, is that all these policies have now been forwarded to all the clubs in the district. And if by any chance they haven't, please let me know, and we can resend the information again. So President Gideon and the Rotarians, that's the small presentation that I had. So I thank you for giving me the opportunity of making the presentation, and further also thank you for listening through. Thank you very much, President Gideon.
You're most welcome. You're most welcome, Past President John. Excellent. I think you've dealt with the issues to do with the Rotary, but Rotarians also hold public positions like you have in the first Taveta county government. Probably we will touch on that. So what I'll ask of the membership is, Past President John, you can take a pen and paper and we will field all the questions at one time, and then you are going to respond to them as we go on. So probably you raise your hands, and I can see Mike has already raised his hand. So Mike, go ahead and unmute and ask your question.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to our speaker. Thank you for the work you do and for being with us today. My question is to ask you your perception of how well the various Rotary clubs are doing, how you go about looking into how well they're doing, and what has been the possibility of improving those that have fallen short.
Thank you, Mike. I think indeed, in terms of how well the clubs are doing, there is a big, I'm looking for a word here, but there are clubs that are doing very, very well in terms of governance and ethics, and there are clubs that are doing very, very, very badly. From where we sit, we are aware of incidents where Rotary Foundation money has been misappropriated. We have also come across of issues of sexual harassment. So yeah, I mean, I think that's all I can say, that there are clubs that are doing very well and there are clubs that are not doing very well at all. In terms of curing the problem, it is very difficult for the committee to cure the problem completely on its own. That's why there's a push now to say that it will be good if at the club level, there's also a director that is going to concentrate and focus on matters of governance and ethics. And we think that once that is in place, then there's going to be increased visibility and there's going to be increased concentration and focus on the issues of governance and ethics. And I think overall, we're going to get an improvement from the current situation.
Thank you.
Anybody else? But as I think anybody else is coming on the floor with a question, let me get this clearly, Rotarian John Murutu. In as a business between Rotary clubs and their members is not allowed at all.
No. That is not what we are saying. And there are some cases where actually Rotary will benefit by transacting a business with a Rotarian or sometimes an organization that belongs to an official of Rotary. But we are saying where that has to happen, then it is not acceptable for the beneficiary to take part in the decision-making process. Whoever, any official that the organization or themselves are going to do business with Rotary, they have to declare that potential of conflict, the potential of conflict. That has to be declared in advance, and they have to rescue themselves from the decision-making process. If that happens, then that's fine. But it cannot be acceptable that it is my company that wants to to do business with Rotary, and I am the president, and I'm sitting there chairing the meeting that is going to award the contract to me. That is not acceptable. But where somebody has declared in advance and they rescue themselves, there is no problem at all for that transaction to take place.
Thank you. We have a standard Rotary Constitution, I think, which applies to all clubs that subscribe to Rotary International. I think what is subject to change is
it seems
Mr.
like
President, I've lost you.
Sorry. Somebody called, but go ahead with the question. Basically, I was talking about the Constitution, standard Constitution, which basically is standard. It is the hello. You can get me?
I'm there. Yes, I am.
The standard Constitution. The Constitution is standard for all Rotary clubs. What changes is the club bylaws, which now adopt issues related to your local scenario. Probably you can share with us what you've seen in terms of club bylaws that probably would inform an aging club like ours to maybe see ways of modernizing and looking fresh for this younger generation that is joining Rotary today.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. And I think you are spot on. You are right that the Constitution is a standard. I think the only thing that is inserted is the club's name and the day and time and venue for a meeting. But otherwise, everything else is the standard. Where there is a flexibility and for for amendment is the club bylaws. As I said earlier, we've made certain suggestions which are included in the pack that we've sent through, but even that is not exhaustive. If the club feels that there are additional things that they need to add, all they need to do is add them or amend the club bylaws and subject those amendments for approval by members at the club assembly. And once that happens, then those are the documents that the club was going to use. So we've made suggestions, but it's not exhaustive. If there's anything else that you need to do, you are at liberty to do so. But please subject it to approval at the club assembly.
Thank you. Anyone else? David Gidanga, you cannot be quiet on this occasion. Likewise, J.K. Mwangi, we would want to hear you.
I think, President, you've forgotten the famous quote that Yusuf Kodawala likes to say, it's better to keep quiet than to open your mouth to confirm that you're a fool. So in this particular situation, I'll not be saying anything, but I think this is a very important topic, particularly as many things are changing, and we have had issues even in our own clubs about what you do, what constitutes business between Rotarians and the club. And the whole issue of conflict of interest, and maybe the judges here would be able to help us, is a very dicey affair. But basically in sciences, in research, medicine, it's about declaring, are you conflicted? Are you making decisions that seem to favor you in a certain direction? And I think it's a declaration, but it can be a gray point, and maybe Justice Aluoch would weigh in on this, how you, when you decide to recuse yourself in a situation that relates to business, and where you have an advantage that you would give to the club that other people may not necessarily see in that light. Thank you very much.
I think very well said, Daktari. Anyone else? So that Engineer Mrutu can respond in a concrete. Michael Hopkins, Prof, go ahead.
Yeah, hi, thank you. Very interesting. Ethics is a huge subject these days, internationally, companies, institutions, and so on. And it gets a bit confusing with so many rules and such a long list. And I think that there's a golden rule which applies with ethics, which is treat other people as you wish to be treated yourself. And I think that golden rule, if you look at the list of ethics that you made earlier today, you will see that applies quite neatly. So do unto others as you wish to be treated yourself. Thanks very much for that comment.
No, thank you.
Nobody has anything to say on sexual harassment or harassment in general?
I do.
Yes, Dr. Sali, go ahead. Karibu.
I think it's very important to have that clause, and thank you very much, Engineer Mrutu. It's good to define what sexual harassment is and the boundaries, or any harassment for that matter. Rotary tends to be friendly, easy, and very, what do you say, almost, sometimes I say it could be it can be a very thin line about something of one being accused of being improper. Thank God it hasn't happened, but it's good that we do have, that we actually now have this policy, because at the workplace, my experience was that anybody who was reported or was accused of sexual harassment, they were very shocked, and they thought that sexual harassment was about liking somebody or doing something. So we're very shocked that some of the things were implied or perceived. So I think for Rotarians, it's a wake-up call. It's good that we are friendly and all that, but having those boundaries set out should protect us all, male and female. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Stanley. As always, your voice is a moderating voice, and I don't want to think you're best suited to handle some of these sexual harassment issues because of the way you manage your tone and voice on serious issues. I'm surprised we have a president nominee, Susan, who is a young one, mistakenly would find some boys whistling at her. Past president, president nominee Susan, please say something.
Hi everyone. Sorry, I'm in a very noisy car driving back to Nairobi and been listening very silently. It's been a very nice session just to learn a lot about Rotary and ethics. And yeah, very good issues that have been pointed out, and also very nice to have some clarity on these things as we move forward. Sorry, I can't comment much because I'm in a really loud car.
Thank you, President nominee Susan. Probably what I would say is, Lady Justice Joyce, I've sent you a message in your inbox. I don't know that you've received it, and that is not harassment. Those are instructions from the president. Thank you.
Sorry, I haven't looked at my inbox. I'm very carefully listening.
Yes, please. I understand, but look at your inbox because I've not seen your response.
Sorry, I will in a minute, but I just wanted to agree with what PP Salome said, that this is an awakening call, but at the same time, I hope it will not take away the friendliness that is in Rotary, because the few times that Rotarians have met, especially after a long period of working from home because of COVID, I always see there's always a lot of hugging and kissing on the cheeks and hugging. So I just sincerely hope that as much as we are going to keep the boundaries, but it must not take away the friendliness that Rotarians have always enjoyed when they meet together. And okay, sorry, President, I will look at the inbox now. I had not checked. Let me look at it now. Sorry, yeah.
I think that statement coming from the justice herself is encouraging. We'll agree.
We will keep our boundaries, but we will not be unfriendly. I'm just hoping.
Thank you. Somebody has called for my attention. Go ahead.
Mr. President, just me to add another dimension that you should be aware of, that there has been quite a number of complaints from Rotaractors, and that the transition from Rotaractors to Rotarians is quite low, and it has been suggested elsewhere that part of the problem is what some young people have gone through on matters related to what we are discussing, issues around sexual harassment. So I just wanted everybody also to be aware of that dimension.
Okay. I think well said, John, Engineer John Ruto. Okay, I'm looking at messages. Margareta, are you on call, Margareta?
Yes, I'm still here.
And would you want to say something? Would you want to say something?
I wanted to. I just agree with the ladies, PP Salome and Justice Joyce, that it's good to define boundaries, but I think that fellowship is one of the key issues in our 4 points that we recognize when we are concerned about if it's fair, if it's true. Fellowship is critical. And I do think that there is a generational gap. Since a generation younger than myself have come to define harassment in terms that their older generations didn't. So that somebody like Joe Biden, he got in trouble for hugging some girl. And in his generation, it was fair to hug a young woman. It wasn't considered harassment, it was simply affection. So I think that everybody should be mindful of this, and there should be compassion on both sides, both among the young people who want to claim that they have been harassed, and the older people who also have to be sensitive to these new perspectives, and to appreciate that it is all, so much of it is mental. If someone is holding you and you know that it's because he's your brother, then I think we want to sustain that support, because we need brothers and sisters. That's part of what Rotary is. So that's just my one comment. Thank you.
I'll give the younger ones an opportunity this time. Sorry, I'll give the younger ones an opportunity this time. We'll probably start with Irina, then go to Ritesh, then go to Mumbua, in that order. And then we will close down. Thank you. Rotary Irina? Particularly Engineer Murutu has talked about young Rotaractors transitioning into Rotary. I think you can best tell us how your experience was like, and then we'll hand over the meeting back to Murutu. Irina, are you there? If not, Ritesh?
Thank you, President. Again, I don't have much to contribute because everyone has said such important, valuable input already to this most important topic and subject area. I'm just grateful that we had an opportunity to listen to engineer John Murutu talk about this very important topic, and we'll be delighted if you could share a recording. Thank you so much.
Asante. Mumbua?
Thank you, President, and thank you, Engineer Murutu, for the presentation. Maybe my comment would be on the sexual harassment, that there's another angle to it as well, which we experience in academia, and that it can be like what we call reverse mentorship. There can be reverse harassment, because sometimes as a Rotarian, you could find that maybe the harassment is coming even from the Rotaractors, or as an older Rotarian, it's coming from the younger Rotarians. So that's another angle perhaps we should also be aware of and prepare ourselves to deal with appropriately. Thank you so much. I have learned a lot today.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Rotarian Mumbua. Sorry, am I there?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, you can get me. So thank you very much, Rotarian Mumbua. John probably will give you to sum up your summing. You can sum up your remarks, and then we'll invite Lady Justice Alwatch to respond with a vote of thanks on behalf of the club, and we will finish. You've done well. We started at 1 o'clock. You took exactly 22 minutes to deliver your presentation, and I think you've touched on issues that can be progressed on. And thankfully, we have now Lady Justice Alwatch to examine things related to ethics and governance. and break it down to those of us members who probably may have missed out on the presentation or didn't pay particular attention on things that we needed to. We can progress the ideas you have shared here and actualize them at our Rotary Club. Sorry about that. But probably what I want to point out is that when we were being appointed at district level for purposes of taking care of the youth, particularly the interactors, Rotary has our own youth protection policy, which I think I'll download and share with each one of you on how you engage children, particularly interactors under the age of 18, and what is expected of you as a Rotarian. You can get away with the Rotaractors because legally they are not minors. So you can talk to nicely to a Rotaractor and the other way around. But for interactors, the youth protection policy is extremely serious. So I will give Josephine. I can see she has raised her hand, and then after that, Engineer Murutu, you'll sum up. And after you've summed up, I will invite none other than Our Lady Justice Alwatch to respond to your presentation on behalf of our club. President-elect Josephine.
Thank you very much, President Gideon. Mine is brief. Just to say that I bring the perspective from presidents-elect who are delighted that this new year, Rotary year, the upcoming year, there has been a lot of emphasis on the issue of governance and ethics. So the new boards across the country are going to establish particular positions on governance and ethics as standalone mandates, not within other mandates. And that the president-elects have asked that this training across clubs takes place on governance and ethics. And I just want to tell Rotarian Engineer Murutu that we shall post on our president-elect's page that we have benefited as a Rotary Club of Nairobi from your lunchtime fellowship with us. And this should encourage other clubs to reach out and get some ideas on how they can build their capacity in the area of governance and ethics. Thanking you again, but I'm moving forward because I know Rotarian Lady Justice Joyce Award will actually pass a vote of thanks. But just to let you know, the presidents-elect are delighted that you have begun this particular capacity building with us. Thank you, President Gideon. And over to Rotarian Justice Joyce Alwatch. Thank you.
Not Justice Joyce Alwatch yet. Past President Murutu, the floor is yours before we give it to Justice Alwatch.
President Gideon, thank you very much. Actually, don't have much more to add, but let me just make an observation because we've made these presentations to a number of forums, and I've noted a difference in terms of the tone and the nature of the discussion that we've experienced in other forums, and today the discussions with RC Nairobi. In a lot of previous conversations, there has been a lot of pushback on the issue of sexual harassment. But I want to congratulate Rotarians of RC Nairobi that I didn't feel that. I didn't feel pushback on that. I felt people were willing to confront the issue. So from where I sit, I want to congratulate you for the openness, and I say that's the only thing that I really wanted to comment on. And for the incoming boards and whatever, I think I just want to say that as a committee, we are at your disposal. If at any time you feel that you need to consult with us, we are available. And let me also share that there are times we also don't have all the answers, but I can add that we have also opened avenues for engagement with RI, where we feel there's an issue that we don't understand the proper interpretation or how to manage particular incident, we have access to Rotary International, to seek their opinions and further guidance. So again, let me thank you, Mr. President, and all the Rotarians for giving me an opportunity to make the presentation, and also for indeed sitting in and listening to the whole presentation. Thank you very much.
Just one personal question. Are you back in politics? And then Joyce will take over.
Mr. President, the answer is yes.
Wow.
Okay. We wish you all the best, Engineer and Governor John Mrutu.
Thank you.
Justice Alwatch. Justice Alwatch.
Thank you, President Gideon. I want to thank Engineer Mrutu for the presentation. Thought-provoking, and as the incoming Director of Governance and Ethics, I know that my responsibilities as the club, as your club Director, Governance and Ethics, shall include cultivating and fostering a transparent, free and fair environment that is supportive of Rotary ideals. This is a new docket as I understand it, and I'm hopeful that we will work through this together. I will read, there's quite a bit of literature. I will take it and read it and understand it. And moving forward, I will be able to share with you as much as I am able to. I think with most clubs, or at least on our club, we are having more and more the younger generation of Rotarians. We have to be aware of issues of governance, issues of sexual harassment, and all these other issues that are now coming to the forefront for the first time in Rotary. So this is work in progress. I promise you that I will do my best, and as Engineer Mrutu has said, though now he just says he's going to politics, but Engineer Mrutu, you have said that you will be available, and if there are any, if there's anything that we need that needs discussion, that is, after this, then I believe that you will always be a phone call away, not too much in the field, but a phone call away. So thank you very much for talking to our club on this subject. And I can assure you that we have taken it seriously, and we are going to think about it. And I believe we will adopt it as well as this club has adopted so many other new things that have come. The club has adopted it very well. We have a friendly atmosphere, but I can assure you we will now be very cautious as to how much I can, Evelyn, my friend, or Mike, I can now, moving forward, know whether do I stretch my hand or do I do anything more than that with Evelyn or Mike or the president. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you. Thank you, Lady Justice Alwatch. We've had you, and I would want to thank each and every member and guests who have stand up today. I'm not unmindful that you're busy people, but every Thursday you've set aside 2 hours to enjoy Rotary Fellowship. God bless you. I want us to give our final toast. So charge your glasses, and those that do not have glasses, take your right hand and put it on your chest. And I say, in conjunction with the Rotary Club of Taita Taveta, Rotary Clubs of Munyonyo, and Rotary Club of Muthaiga, I give you Rotary the world over.
Rotary the world over.
Thank you. God bless you. God bless you. Thank you. We've come to the end of our fellowship.
Thank you.
Justice Joyce. Oh, did she disappear? I think she disappeared. Lovely to see you.
How are you?
Oh, good. I'm at the National Theater. We're in a conference. But I decided I should just step in and say hi.
Nice
Lovely.
to see you.
Yes, good. Thank you. Yes, good to see you too. We'll
You're
be in
looking very
touch.
smart, Margareta.
Oh, thank you, Mike.
Absolutely.
I had to come out. I've been attending a wonderful conference.